Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to another episode of They Gon' Feel Me podcast. This is episode 42. And if this is your first time tuning in to the show, we ask that you please subscribe, like, share, comment, and tell a friend to tell a friend because we trying to get on. I'm here with my co-host. I got my boy Dr. Love. I got my boy Al C down there, the Drake group with melanin. Don't know what that means, but you know what I'm
The
saying, you know.
Drake of the group
The
with
Drake
melanin.
of the group with melanin. Okay.
Mm.
Reading is fundamental. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I got my boy the Pat Daddy down there. And we about to get into this conversation. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't
That's like
spread them, did he?
that's like the reverse watch this. Like not this. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, recently there's been a lot of controversy regarding relationships and gender roles, and we've had a quote unquote gender war, you know what I'm saying, with men and women telling each other what they need to be doing in relationships. And we want to come to a solution. We want a more solution-based show because a lot of times people get to arguing about what each side should do, but they never come to a resolution. So, you know what I'm saying? To kick off the show, our first topic is listen. You know what I'm saying? Because listening is really important in relationships, and you want to listen to understand and not necessarily to respond. So, fellas, what are your thoughts on listening in relationships and the importance of listening to your partner?
I think a lot of times when people go into, like when men and women, or wherever you consider yourself, like when they have issues with like the fair sex or the opposite sex, like the issue that it feels if like they always run into is a lot of times they're saying a lot of the same things or having a lot of the same grievances, but at the same time, men don't understand where women come from, and they feel as if like they on their bullshit, and vice versa. And I think listening is a very big thing, but it's not active listening as much as just having a little bit of self-awareness. It's fine if you hear what somebody has to say, but a lot of people listen to respond versus like listen to hear what other person says, internalize it, and then try and apply it to, wow, this person is saying this about me. It's not so much that, oh, you making it up, you on some bullshit, as much as like, oh, wow, this is how you really feel, but this isn't how what I mean. This isn't, like I need to digest and internalize all that information you just gave me, and then respond properly after hearing you out. And I think that is a big thing. Like, I mean, there's the Kevin Samuel types in the world who just basically hear women, what in their mind, like I guess, do a lot of this, and then all of a sudden, all they want to do is respond. And like, like that just isn't like a healthy way of like dealing with, like mitigating issues between the opposite sex.
To me, when you look at the human body, you look at the human body. How many ears do you have? How many mouths do you have?
Unless you're Van Gogh, you only have one.
You got one mouth. So the thing about it is listen more and talk less. But too many times we have it the reverse. We talk more and listen less. And we actually end up missing crucial and vital information that could give us intel or give us the key to unlock a deeper level of our relationship, because we fail to just shut up sometimes and listen. It goes both ways, because you're so hyped up to present your side, to win your argument, to feel at the end of the day, both men and women, they want what? They want to feel heard. They want to feel as if somebody hears them and somebody understands them. And a lot of times you just you're on your agenda, and it takes sometimes for you to step back and be humble and be just have that humility to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna stop. And like y'all said before, I'm just gonna stop listening to respond, and I'm just gonna actually really pay attention to what my partner is saying, because that I mean, quite honestly, it can be a difference between y'all making it or y'all actually breaking up, between because she feels or he feels like you're actually listening, because another part of that is value, because it shows your partner that it's value in what they're saying. Because think about it, if you're talking to somebody and they're not listening to you, you can tell when people aren't listening to you. Guess what? They're not telling you verbally like, hey, what you're saying, it doesn't matter to me, or there's no value in it, but they're implying it, because I don't even have the time, or I don't even consider what you're saying important for me to stop doing what I'm doing to hear your side. So a lot of times we are saying stuff subconsciously that we don't realize that we're saying, but we're actually saying it. So listening is very important.
I feel like listening is definitely important. But you also got to be talking about something for me to listen to you as well. Like, I mean, I can listen to you, but you can't expect me to listen to you if you're screaming at me, or if you're not willing to come down to a certain level to where I can understand you. Or even if, with what Rob said, you may be talking about something, and yeah, it may be one of those things where, hey, I'm subconsciously not paying attention to you because I'm thinking about something else. But at the same time, I could be thinking about something that will a plan for us to make it out of whatever hole we're in, or a plan for us, for our next house or something like that. And you just rambling on, and it's like, okay, right at this current moment, I want quiet time. You know what I mean? So, I mean, listening is definitely a big key, but like I said, you also have to be talking with substance. You have to be talking kindly to me. Like you can't, and I've been in that situation before where your words are just malicious and evil because you're screaming, and instead of you allowing me to listen to you, you're causing me to not want to listen to you because you're being nasty and evil. If you want me to listen, speak in a kind tone, so that way we can talk like adults and not scream back and forth like kids. You know what I mean? Yes, you need to
Yeah,
listen. Yes, you need to pay attention to what each other is saying, but at the same time, you got to be respectful to me, just like I need to be respectful to you.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get to that part
Mm-hmm.
of this a little bit later, in the show. But yeah, I definitely think listening is really important, and I think that just comes with growth, man. That's another part of the show, but it just comes with understanding, that you're not always right, or even if you feel you're right, you still have to validate your partner's feelings, and show that you care about what they're saying, even if at the end of the day you may not agree with it. The more respect you show your partner, the more respect they're going to show you. You got to give respect to get respect at the end of the day. But anyway, moving on, to our next topic is compromise. A lot of the conversation has been, men need to do this, women need to do this. But a lot of the times, you have to come to a point where you have to learn how to compromise with your partner and work with them in a way that you may not like to do some of the stuff that they like to do. But hey, baby, I'll do it because I love you. You know what I'm saying? So how do you guys feel about, the role that compromise plays in a relationship?
I think
Compromising is always going to make a great relationship, because I mean, that just shows what you're willing to do for your partner. I mean, I feel like there are plenty of, I mean, we all fellas, we can all agree. We don't feel like taking pictures 100% of the time. What's the number one thing that happens when you go to a restaurant? Hold on, babe,
Ah,
don't take a bite. I need to take a picture and post it. That shit gets on my fucking
my.
nerves, but I compromise and let it go. Right? So you have to allow
Hey.
that to happen. I don't even mind you you dipping onto my plate. I know some dudes are upset about that. That shit don't even matter to me. I don't care about sharing my food or sharing anything with you, because a lot of the times I go to a restaurant with the intent of, hey, I'm going to order this, you order this. I want to try a piece of what you have, if that's okay with you, and you can try a piece of mine, which is, we always are like, that's cool. But my biggest thing, like I said, is let me take a picture of the food so I can post it. I don't give a fuck about Facebook and then folks seeing me eat my steak. Fuck them. They could have came to the same steakhouse that I came to and got them the same steak with extra butter, a damn roll, some broccoli, and mashed potatoes on the side, but they chose not to. I don't care if they see it, but I let her do it because she wants to do that. So, I mean, you got to compromise. You got to go to the club that you don't want to go to. You got to go out on the town. Yeah. If you're really willing to be in a committed relationship for a long time, you have to compromise. And that just doesn't go for men. I mean, that goes for women as well. You have to compromise and go to the sports game with your man. You have to compromise. If you always like, oh, you always watching ESPN, I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Okay, well, sit down and let me show you the game. Sit down and let me show you what I'm watching. Or you always on your game. Okay, well, sit down and let's play the game together. Let's do something together. Let's go wash my car together, something like that. Like the whole role of, oh, this is a man's thing and this is a woman's thing. When we together, this is our thing, and we need to team up and tackle this thing together. It shouldn't be, oh, you go do this by yourself. And another reason why I don't feel like you should send somebody out by themselves, and I have to catch myself sometimes with this as well, because a lot of the times when I'm off work, I want to do that. I want to just be off work. But then when I think about, mass shootings and shit like that we have, I feel bad when I send my wife to the store by herself, because I'm like, damn, that could be the last time that I see her. So then I try to make sure that, hey, we either order or we go together this time, as much as I hate going through the grocery store or something like that. I mean, it's just compromise. It's things that you have to do if you really love and care for that person. That's the only thing that's going to make your relationship go on.
And the thing about it is, all these tips that we're talking about are not gender specific, meaning that they're plausible for both sexes. And the thing, when you hear the word compromise, for me, it just speaks to maturity. Because at some point we all have to grow up. If you want to be in a real committed relationship, you have to grow up. You got to be mature. And the mature person realizes, hey, I can't have everything I want 100% of the time. And so therefore I need to compromise. There are certain things that I'm just gonna have to do. My situation, there are certain things that I was used to, being a single individual, that, when you get married, totally different. Because for me personally, I'm a neat freak. There are certain things that I need to, I'm just organized. If you look at my closet, everything is ordered. You look at her closet, it looks like a bomb went off in her closet. When I was coming up, my parents always taught me, anytime you get out of bed, make your bed, but for her, it wasn't, that wasn't the case. For a long time, I had to get used to getting up out of the bed. And when I came home, seeing the bed wasn't made up in my head, that was something, that I had to get used to. And another one was like the TV. Anybody knows me, I can go to sleep anytime. It does not matter. The TV can be right here by my head, and I know.
We know, boy.
Boy be in the middle of a PS3 game, cuz.
I'm talking about gone sleep. But for her, she has to have the TV off, complete darkness, complete darkness in the room. And for me, I'm like, it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me either way. I didn't, I didn't care either way. But it's compromise. If you want to be in a committed relationship, you just got to understand that's part of being mature, part of growing up.
I think walking into a relationship, it's understandable that you have some non-negotiables, right? It's non-negotiable that I expect you to be faithful. It's non-negotiable that I expect us to have, sex 3 times a week, something, I can understand the concept of having non-negotiables, but if you are so firmly set on having all your non-negotiables met, and even to if it's at a fault to the other person's non-negotiables, or you just completely disregard their non-negotiables at all, then like I mean, you're just going toward a fast end to your relationship. You like you ain't gonna be in a relationship, and it's gonna be very difficult for you to find a relationship with anyone else. I think, but that does link back to communication. There's a lot of things that you should establish like early on, and like I mean, uh, compromise isn't necessarily about always just doing things that somebody else wants to do and you just don't want to do it at all. Because I mean, maybe part of it needs to be that just enjoying the idea of seeing your partner happy. Like I mean, if it like if it bothers you to see somebody else happy, what I'm saying, even if it's to your detriment, like I mean, that is kind of problematic and almost emblematic of like some underlying issues in your relationship that you need to deal with. I could tell you now, some people may look at the relationship that I have with my significant other and think that it's peaches and cream and rosy gumdrops and rainbows, but it ain't. I have a lot of these things that we might bring up tonight. I know personally I am not great at all the time, but it's all about what has worked well for me and my significant other, my wife, like is the concept of always actively working on these things, being adaptive, being open, and sometimes just getting over your own bullshit, in order to like compromise at the very easiest way, like putting it without having to ramble on.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing is just getting out your comfort zone, man. Like, I'm a testament to that. It took me a while to get out of my comfort zone because my wife is more outgoing. She loves to do, things. She loves to be outside. So, and me, I'm more of a homebody, and I can sit in the house and have the best time of my life. Just, what I'm saying. So, and it's just like you have to learn your partner and just be willing to, be like, hey, let's go out. And you never know, you'll learn more about yourself sometimes when you do things with your partner than just being stuck in your ways and not doing some of those things too. Like you may think that you don't like some of those things, but when you start doing some of the things that they like to do, you'll kind of discover like, hey, I really do like doing this too. You know what I'm saying? So let's do more of it. But you can only learn that if you're willing to compromise and get out of your own way and kind of put that fear aside and be willing to do things that you don't normally do. So but anyway, moving into the next topic, we have realistic expectations, because a lot of people nowadays have a lot of unrealistic expectations when it comes to relationships. And so we want to discuss this and talk about, what do you guys think are some realistic expectations in relationships and, people's expectations nowadays, when it comes to relationships. How do you feel about this topic?
This is the thing that I know we talk about this. We talk about this a lot, but we say, authentic men, authentic conversation is where people have this thing about comparing. Where they go on Instagram or they go on Twitter, they go on Facebook, and they see certain things, or they see some silly meme or telling you that, hey, you should if he really loves you, he'll spend $200 on a date, for you, or your wedding ring, engagement ring needs to cost these amount of paychecks for certain things, and
He ain't bought you
all
a Birkin, or you ain't been flued out yet.
all the I mean all these different things, which is
He
which
ain't
is
paying for all 18 of your friends when y'all go out to eat.
I mean, all these various things, and we'll argue. I'm talking about we will argue, we will cuss folk out over, what I'm saying, over some I don't know, some scenarios that people just pull out the sky. And I'm talking about people will have long drawn out fights, arguments over this kind of stuff, and then will bring that stuff to their relationship, thinking that,
Yep.
hey, so he ain't bought this for you, or she ain't did this for you. Do she really like you? Well, if she really liked me, she would have did this here, or would have did that there, or would comparing themselves to other people instead of understanding what's going on. You know, we say this all the time. Every relationship is different. You know, every relationship is different. You can't compare, even with you know, relationships that you have with various girlfriends. All of them are different, because those individuals are different. So you can't expect certain things that other people do is going to be applicable for you. So I say that to say, stop having rabbit ears and always looking at what other people are doing and try to bring that into your relationship, and let your relationship be organic in what it is, instead of trying to be what it's not, or what other people tell you it should be.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. A lot of people are telling people what their relationships should be and how a man should treat you, how a woman should treat you. And personally, like, you need to know how you want to be treated. Don't base your opinion off of somebody else's opinion. Stop being a follower, and establish your own expectations, and stop letting social media dictate what it is you want out of a relationship, because you're never going to be happy, because social media is always changing anyway. So they're going to have new standards in another 5 to 10 years. They're going to be talking about something totally different from what they're talking about now, and then you're going to want that from your partner, so you're never going to be happy. So to me, it's just like having those core expectations, the simple things, like, what I'm saying, like, and not all these unrealistic as, my man got to make $150,000, or my woman got to cook and clean every day when I come home. Like, I mean, like, it's 2022. We're living in a modern society, like, where men and women are both earning, around the same amount of income anyway. So it's like,
That's
bro,
still
like,
horn, bro.
or what I'm saying, like, and it's like we gotta
Not in
look
all
at the time.
aspects.
Look at the
Yeah,
times.
really.
No, I'm not saying in all aspects. I'm just saying, like, we are becoming more equal, not like physically and things like that. That, I mean, that's a
Or
common
even financially,
Yeah,
commodity.
we know
men
we
do
just
still
talking about
make
the
more.
WNBA.
Men do still make more money, but I'm saying, like, when we're talking about, like, just in general, like, on normal day-to-day jobs, like, a lot of women some women out earn men, some women make the same amount as men, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, like, being realistic with yourself, men and women, as far as what you want, especially in these modern times, like, learning, that, hey, if she may make more money than me, like I said this on the previous show, so I can't expect her to cook and clean every day, because that's not realistic. You know what I'm saying? Because she has to hustle and bustle every day. So let me cook and do some of the cooking and cleaning. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So just learn that, hey, to have realistic expectations. But anyway, I'll let one of y'all go.
You know, part of that is too is as men. I mean, like you said, like I mean, you can't expect. A lot of people want these proverbs, women type women, and I'm a Christian and I believe in God, and like there's a lot of things that I do want to live to the letter when it comes to I guess my faith. But realistically, I can't expect this generation or my spouse to have like some classic relationship, because the stuff that like my mom put up with my dad, I don't think any woman necessarily always has to put up with. Not to say that, I idolize my parents' relationship, and I want to be with them and be together with my wife as long as they've been together. But like, I mean, the type of shit they were doing in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, some 90s, like I can't expect, like people who grow up in this kind of modern society to necessarily be on that same type of stuff. The type of stuff my grandfather did to my grandmother. This man did some stuff. Well, I ain't gonna go into too much detail. And like I can't expect like somebody to remain, steadfast, faithful, and be the good woman in a relationship when a lot of men can't step up and be like, hey, yo, this is some bullshit. There's dudes out there that feel like I'm the man, so I get to do whatever I want, and she's just gonna have to put up with it. You can't expect to have a long lasting relationship and you out here like knocking down everything, you know what I'm saying, or still acting as if like you're a single man, and at the same time, you're not giving to your significant other the kind of faithfulness that she deserves. Like, I mean, you want a double standard. Like, I mean, you basically want a doormat. You don't want like a significant other at that point. If you just expect them to basically, you just say jump and they say how high. If that's what you're looking for, then like you're just looking for somebody to placate you and kind of just be, a pet more than like an actual partner. And a lot of dudes need to like just say like, hey, yo, some of these things I'm expecting out of life. Like, I'm the drama, I'm the problem in this relationship, not my significant other who's screaming at me because they're upset. They're upset with reason. They're upset with purpose. And you are toxic. You are problematic. You are, maybe not the person for them or not the person for anybody. Maybe you just need to be alone for a long time until like you work out your own shit or bust a couple of more nuts or something. I don't know. But like, I mean, you shouldn't be trying to drag somebody into your BS and then just expect them to love you through it until like you basically get it through your mind like, oh, it's time for me to be right now. She deserves it. Like, that isn't a consolation prize to basically be, full, be whole for a person. Like, that isn't, oh, I'm doing them a favor and like finally getting over myself. Like, yeah, you ain't doing anybody any favors, including yourself.
I mean, y'all pretty much touched on it. Realistic expectations is, really whatever works within your relationship. I'd say not living beyond your means should be definitely the number one thing. Just because you see this person taking this many trips doesn't mean that we are financially in that ability to do that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, just mainly whatever works for y'all relationship, man. Like, I hate the whole. That's the thing that gets on my nerves whenever I see these, these gender role topics online and all of this stuff. Is like, oh, well, this person should do this person should do that. Well, I also see comments under there. Listen, whatever works for your relationship works for your relationship. If your female doesn't mind cooking every night and doing certain things that we've heard, quote unquote, that women do in the past, then who gives a fuck? If she's not upset about it, let her do it. If your man is fine with working 80 hours a week and bringing home the bacon so that way you can keep the house up and all of that, then so be it. And if the roles are reversed, let the roles be reversed. Who really cares, man? Whatever works for your relationship works for your relationship. But stop thinking that, these social media relationships and everything that you see online is peachy keen. Stop thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, because just as many weeds as you got on your end, they got them on their end as well, if not more.
All right. Getting into the next topic, you know what I'm saying? Knowing yourself is, a big part of a relationship, because if you know yourself, then you can know what you expect out of a relationship. So what do you guys think about, knowing yourself better to better yourself for a relationship?
Man, for me, this one, if we were ranking them, this one, if not number one, this would be number two, because I think everything in a relationship, and I think a lot of the stuff, gender wars that we talk about, stem from people not knowing themselves better. And actually, some LC said, there are a lot of people that really, I mean, to quite honest, they need to be single. And when I say single, I mean single and not dating.
Yeah, for sure.
Not talking to people, because there are a lot of toxic, damaged, trauma-ridden people out here that don't realize, or they haven't come to the conclusion or been introspective enough to realize, hey, it's some stuff in me, it's some baggage in myself that I need to work on. And instead,
they're like emotional serial killers. Yeah, they like bounce from person to person, like spreading their bullshit.
That's what and what you're doing, like we say all the time, hurt people. We always talk about mental health and counseling, and I will come back and say it again. People, pretty much everybody, go get some counseling, even if it's just one session, and find out, because a lot of the trust issues that you have with other people, the boundary issues that you have with other people, the anger issues you have, the abuse, whether it's physical or verbal, all of that stuff is stuff that you need to work out before you go and get in any kind of relationship with any person, because a lot of times you're projecting your stuff on other people. You're carrying that baggage that you haven't dealt with for 15 or 20 years ago, and you're bringing all that stuff into another relationship, and you're wondering why. If you see certain people, it seems like they go from relationship to relationship to relationship, and it seems like they're always attracted to a certain kind of person, and always their relationships are abusive. And you just asking yourself, why are you attracted to this certain type of person? Hello, it's some work that person needs to do by themselves. So, you know, work on yourself, because a lot of issues that we have and that people have, they need to work on before they start jumping in a relationship with other people.
I definitely do think that a lot of people, they don't feel, a lot of people are insecure and they don't feel confident in themselves. And because they don't know themselves, like they either bring that into their relationship or take it out on their significant other a lot of times. I think a lot of people sometimes, because they don't necessarily know themselves, they don't know exactly what they need or want in order to be happy. And then they're like demanding somebody else to love them a particular kind of way without knowing what they want to be loved as. Kind of going back to something that like Chris said, like, I mean, if somebody is like screaming at you, that kind of goes both ways, because it's kind of like one of those things where, yeah, they're screaming and you would expect them to act more mature, but it's also kind of like a thing. And, my significant others have told me this before too. I'm not screaming at you because like, I think that this is the healthy or right thing to do. It's just that you haven't listened to me in all the different ways I've tried to relay this information to you. And now, like the only thing I have left are these harsh words. And I think it's about knowing enough about yourself to know that, hey, yo, if this doesn't feel right, maybe I need to move around. And maybe it's knowing yourself well enough to know that, like, hey, yo, it's not the other person screaming at me that's out of order. Maybe it's me not listening, causing this person all this drama and stress that is kind of like causing strife in our relationship. Like, I mean, self-awareness is something that everybody struggles with. It's the reason why sometimes people get into arguments with somebody knowing dead wrong that they're wrong, but not having the self-awareness to be like, you know what, if I can actually say this was some bullshit, if this was something that I would actually get mad at somebody if they were to do it to me, then why am I standing steadfast in my wrongness? Just so that I can basically say, well, ain't nobody going to handle me any kind of way. It's not about you being handled in any kind of way. It's you taking accountability for the things that you did, and that's something not easy. Nobody ever wants to admit that they're the bad guy in a situation, or nobody probably even wants to say like, I don't know who I am, because you live with you every day. But just because like you are the only person that talks to yourself every day or thinks with your brain every day doesn't necessarily mean, you can look in the mirror and be honest about who is staring back at you. So like, that's some shit you need to work out.
I mean, you definitely have to, knowing yourself is definitely a big part of the battle when going into another relationship. If you have been in a long relationship, I definitely don't think that you should immediately go to the next relationship. I don't think you should get one started. That's one thing that I did pride myself on before, talking to other females and stuff like that after getting out of a relationship in the past when I was younger. I had plenty of them that was like, oh, let's, I really like you. You're a cool dude. And I immediately was like, I mean, I would love to, but I'm not at that place right now. And I stopped myself. Could part of that have been because I didn't see myself, being in an intimate relationship or being attracted to that person. That could be a part of it as well. But as well, you know what I mean? I just didn't see myself getting into another relationship after being in such a long relationship. So I took the time to work on myself and actually find out what I do like and what I don't like. What I do like and what I don't like in a relationship. And I mean, speaking on the screaming thing and the, am I the bad guy and stuff like that? I mean, I feel like every person, when you have an argument, you're always going to look at the other person as the bad guy because you want your way to be right. You know,
And I ain't calling you the bad guy, by the way.
I know. I ain't saying you are. I'm saying, but like
Right.
you just you know, from past situations, being in an argument, you know, or a debate, however you want to call it, with your significant other, they're always gonna, whenever you want your way to be right, you're always gonna paint that other person as the bad guy because I want my way to be the right way. I'm headstrong. I believe in what I'm saying, and a lot of the times we block out listening, which is the first topic that we talked about, because we are always so headstrong. No, you need to be quiet. This is why I was right. This is why I was this, that, and the third, as opposed to coming to the table and talking. You know what I mean? And that's why I say to be in a committed relationship, there are compromises and things like that that you have to make in order to have a long relationship. Y'all have to, and that's one thing that I told my wife, you know, coming into this relationship. Listen, I'm not finna go back and forth with you and argue with you. That's one thing that I knew that I didn't want going forward. So if you know that you're that type of person that likes to argue, scream, rant, and rave, you ain't the one for me. We can sit down and talk and have a, you know, adult conversation so we can come to an agreement on what we're disagreeing on. But what I'm not gonna do, and I'm not even saying just calling me out my name or anything like that. I'm not even saying going to that depth, which is, we have seen that plenty of times in relationships. I've seen that with my own parents. You know what I mean? So not saying that we're going there, but I'm saying that to the point where we're screaming back and forth and slamming doors and all of this other stuff. No, if we want a committed relationship, we got to be able to come to the round table and have a conversation. Now, do we always want to do that? No, but that just comes with maturing and getting older. One thing that I said before in one of our shows that I'm still working on, something that I still have a battle with myself, is when I get upset, I don't speak immediately. I get quiet. I may be quiet for a day or two, not say nothing. That's something that I have to get over. That's something that I have to fight with, and that's a stubborn way that I have, that even my wife now has told me about, and you know, people in the past have told me about. That's still something that I'm working on. But a lot of the other stuff, I've been able to listen and say that I'm not taking those things into a relationship. So a lot of the times, whenever you do get out of a relationship, if you really care about improving yourself and taking a better you to a new relationship, you take heed of what that person said before and told you about yourself before, and say, you know what, they were right at this aspect. I'm going to try to be better on, if I have 4 traits, these 2 or 3 traits I'm going to try to correct. I know this trait still is a work in progress, but these 2 or 3 traits right here that are bad, I need to definitely work on those. And if you work on those going forward and you're able to correct those, that shows that you're working on yourself. You're starting to learn who you are as a person to correct that going forward.
Yeah, you brought up a good point too. I think a lot of people, when they leave relationships, they don't get an inventory on what they did wrong in the relationship. I think that that's something that people, if you leave on good terms, I don't think that's a bad idea to ask your partner, like, hey, what do you think I can improve? You know what I'm saying? Like, what did you not like about me that you think I can improve in a relationship? And I think that falls right in line with like knowing yourself better, and because knowing your flaws is going to make you a better person for the next person. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, getting into the next topic, we talked about knowing ourselves. Now we're talking about getting to know our partner better, because a lot of times, you know, we neglect, you know, to know our partner fully, and know what they like, what they dislike, how they tick, how they work. You know what I'm saying? And so, what do you think, you know, about knowing your partner in a relationship and how it affects your relationship? You know.
I think that can go a long way to cutting down on, sorry to say, failed marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know, while y'all dating, you know, if you really getting to know that person, if you see a 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6 red flags, you might need to start asking yourself, okay,
Mm-hmm.
are these things that I'm willing to work on? Are these things that I'm really willing to work past? Or, you know, like LC was talking about earlier, are these certain non-negotiables that, no, baby, I don't care how fine you are, we ain't gonna be able to, we ain't gonna be able to get it. And like, just for an example, kids is a big thing for certain people. You know, if you want kids and she don't want kids, I mean, that might be. I'm just using it. I'm just using it as an example. You know, that might be one of them things where, like, man, ooh, she bad, but I know I really, really, really want kids. But a lot of times we'll let superficial things cloud us from really doing that hard work, rolling up our sleeves and really learning, learning that person. And then when you get farther on down in a relationship, you start to find out things that you could have learned way earlier in a relationship, and it would have saved you a lot of grief if you would have did the hard work on the front end. Kind of like when the check engine or the check oil light come on in your vehicle, and you be like, I think I can get a couple more miles in, and so you keep on driving and you keep on driving, and then one day your junk don't come on.
Why those sound effects?
I'm sorry, you had that check engine light on, but you decided to ignore it, and so now your junk don't come on. So if you do the work on the front end, I'm not saying you don't have to do the work on the back end.
I'm sorry. Okay. I got out of my system. Keep going.
Nah, I think this is a big one too. Knowing your partner. I think this is a big mistake that a lot of people make when they get into relationships, because, like we said, people hop from relationship to relationship and they don't necessarily take the time to get to know the person. They just like the sex. The sex good. You know what I'm saying? So that, that's the main reason they together and nothing else. They don't take the time to even know, what that person likes, what they dislike, what their goals are for the future, how are they operating financially, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a whole lot of things that people don't take the time to invest in when it comes to their partner, and they end up with this person on down the road that they're unhappy with, or they resent, or they're like, well, damn, why didn't I know this about you? Because our goals don't align anymore. We're not on the same path. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, especially when you get into a new relationship, you need to vet your partner. You need to ask them questions. As corny as it may sound, you need to drill them to the third degree so you can make sure that y'all are on the same path. You have the same goals. You want the same things in life. So you don't end up, 10 years down the road, you getting a divorce, you know what I'm saying? Or 5 years down the road, or even 1 year into your marriage, your partner cheating on you because they unhappy with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this topic to me go up to the top of the list too, because this is one of the primary things. This is like in the initial dating stages. Like you need to ask questions so you can understand who your partner is and get to know them.
I think you need to know who your partner is, and when you ask those questions, you need to ask again. This goes back to the previous topic, knowing yourself. Ask, can you really provide that to that person? That's another thing all of this stuff goes in together. You know what I mean? But it's like sometimes people are gonna let you know on the forefront. Look, this is the way that I want to live my life. I want to have the 6-bedroom house. I want the luxury car. I can have 2 or 3 kids. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. If you know you can't provide that because your ass is a manager at Best Buy, then I don't want to, don't go talking about, oh, this person is just toxic and this, that. No, this person told you exactly who they was. You didn't listen. You was blinded by the vagina. That thing got wet. That gawk 3000 got gawking, and your ass got caught up. Word to Usher. So like you really you gotta be willing to pay attention, man. Also, like, I feel like knowing your partner comes down to just simple things in a relationship. Like, know what makes that person tick, know what makes that person mad, know what makes that person laugh whenever they're upset, know how to make them happy, know if they're really upset, do they want to be bothered or do they not want to be bothered, know when it's her cycle, what she likes, so that way you can go ahead and have that, throw that bomb in there and get the fuck out the room so she don't go off on you. You know what I mean? Well, whatever the case may be, it goes down to a lot of things that can save a relationship. See, a lot of the times it is the small things. Hey, she wants me to fill her car up every week, have her car washed, or he wants me to whenever I go to the grocery store, I got to get these 3 things when I go shop at the grocery store. It comes down to, again, like I said, listening, compromising, and being willing to do these things to be in a long, strong relationship. That's the one thing that, I always see this topic. This person cheated on this person cheated on that person. We ain't like your grandmama or your mama. We ain't putting up with the bullshit that they put up with. But at the end of the day, I'm disregard cheating. I'm not talking about cheating. A lot of the times, men and women back then in the day were willing to sacrifice and compromise for each other because they wanted to be in a relationship. They knew home was here and they were happy here. These motherfuckers nowadays ain't willing to do that. It's all about me. It's about me. This is what I want. This is what I want. And it's not always about you. At the end of the day, in a relationship, the men's happiness is just as the men's happiness plays a big role just as much as the woman's happiness plays. Both of us have to be happy in this relationship. And I feel like as bad as I feel for my brother, I sometimes feel what Will said when he was like, it's not my job to provide 100% of your happiness. You have to find peace and happiness within yourself as well. Because if you're not happy with you, if you don't like who you are, how do you expect me to fill that void and make you happy? And clearly, Jada ain't happy, big dog, with herself. So
maybe some of it's kind of blown out of proportion.
Yeah, bitch,
but I will.
Bitch ain't happy with us.
I ain't even touching that because we being solution.
But that relationship.
Why y'all ain't touching it? Everybody.
That's a different topic that we kind of already talked about. I will say everything that y'all talking about. There ain't no reason to find out this information like after 3, 4, 5 years down the line, a honeymoon and 3 kids. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these things that you need to find out about your significant other, you need to know kind of early on. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say you need to fast track your relationship, in the beginning so that you can be immediately ready to marry in 4 months. But there's no reason for you to find out some very pertinent information like early on, like finding out that she don't want kids is not something that you find out after you propose, in my opinion. That's just me. And I'll also say that just as much as knowing your other, knowing your spouse or your significant other, your boyfriend, girlfriend, you need to be realistic enough with yourself to understand that, when you find out this information, or you can't be glamored by the allure of a relationship or just your and lust for a person, because being realistic, some people, all y'all got is that physical attraction. That's it. That's all y'all got. And maybe y'all should either explore that and let it just be that, or you shouldn't be trying to, start a nation off the fact that her BBL looks nice, or his abs look good or something. I don't know. But it really needs to have a lot more substance than just that. And, when you do cut through the minutia of all that, just kind of revel in enjoying doing things for your significant other, those things that you learn about them and cherish. I love seeing the joy actually in my wife's face sometimes. She gets giddy like a child, when she gets some things that she likes or wants, or she's truly happy. And, that took just kind of actively listening, paying attention, and showing that I'm listening. Don't just know your partner, show it. You know what I'm saying? You can know everything in the world, but she ain't he or she isn't or they they aren't a mind reader. Them knowing that and have plans, these grandiose plans, they will never know until you put it into action. You have to be actionable with what you learn.
Moving into the next topic, empathy and compassion. This is another big one, having empathy for your partner, especially for their feelings and, how they feel when it comes to conflict and just different things that go on in a relationship. How do you guys feel about this topic?
Some people actually think that Kevin Samuels actually loved women and, cared for them and had good points and blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. But when it comes to the war of the sexes, the war of spouses, boyfriend, girlfriends, whatever, and the issue that I have in conversations that people have about their counterparts, it's like if you walk into a situation and you don't show that compassion, you don't, there's ways to tell somebody they're full of it, or they have problems, or there's deficiencies, or this is what I expect out of you, or you aren't meeting me where I'm at, and not coming off spiteful and or just hurtful. You know what I'm saying? If you coming out here to like make jokes and talk about somebody in an ugly fashion, then do you really empathize with their situation? Do you really have love for them? Do you really care? You can't say that you are a true lover of anyone if like it comes with like, just as many soft notes as you trying to sing, you also like throwing stones too, And I feel as if like if you practice these things, if when you talk about your significant other, they always a bitch, they always this, they always that, there's always these negative connotations that you draw between, the fair sex, or oh, this nigga that, this bitch nigga this that. It's like if you breed the hate, that you put out there ultimately, and it's more than just semantics, colloquialisms, and just things that I say. Like sometimes it's like you're actively practicing just disliking somebody, and you don't refuse to see their side because like you don't value them as a person or care like where they come from. And I just think that that's one of those things that I definitely see, at least from men, a lot of times, and it feels as if like they talk about anything that involves, women and what have you. I just feel as if like that's a huge problem. You're not starting from a place of compassion, love, and respect.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of men in general, when it comes to emotion, they're taught to suppress those emotions anyway. So it's hard for them to be empathetic towards the opposite sex or towards people in general, when they've been taught like, hey, man up, like, don't show your emotions. How can you be empathetic, to a point when you've been taught to, suck it up and be a man, most of your life? But that's not an excuse. I feel like empathy in a relationship, especially when it comes to like conflict with your partner, when your partner, we talked about it earlier, when your partner is expressing themselves, you can listen, but you have to have some sort of empathy and compassion for your partner to really understand what they're saying, and then in turn apply it, to yourself, and to be better, to be a better person. That takes empathy, to empathize their feelings and apply it. Because I use myself for an example. When me and my wife first got together, when we were dating, I wasn't empathetic. When she would say something or she had a problem, I would jump on the defensive. Nah, you're not going da 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 da. That ain't flying around me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just who I was. But it took me to kind of grow and learn that, hey, that's not how you interact with your wife, with your spouse, with your girlfriend. You want to be empathetic. You want to understand and have compassion for their feelings, because that's going to make your relationship better. That's going to make them want to open up more to you, because if you're not empathetic, then they're going to shut down. They're not going to want to share those moments with you, because they're going to be afraid that you're going to blow up and be all defensive and want to, get into this big fight, when all you have to do is, like Chris said, let's sit down and talk about it, man to man, man to woman, and let's have an adult conversation. You know what I'm saying? So to me, yes, empathy and compassion is definitely a big thing, and men need to learn how to have empathy for, just people in general, and I know there's men out there that know how to have emotional intelligence and know how to have empathy, but there are a lot of us out there that are taught, again, to suppress our emotions, and that in turn allows us to not have empathy and compassion for one another.
You touched on a great point that you said, though, when you was like, you into your relationship and she'd say something and you'd be like, man, whatever, you ain't going that way. I can recall, this is actually my first marriage. I can recall a time where, something as subtle as, a playful shut up. Girl, shut up. Stop talking to me. Shut up. Right? You wouldn't think it was rude or anything like that. But my first wife, she got extremely upset. She was like, I don't like when you tell me to shut up in front of your parents. And I was like, man, I'm just playing. Like, it's not that serious. And at the time, because I was so young, I didn't understand it. She got extremely mad, and I stayed on that horse. I stayed on that hill, and I was willing to down that hill. Like, bro, I'm not even being rude. I'm just saying, like, I'm saying it in a joking way. We say it all the time, but it took me to mature and realize, okay, I don't need to say that. And that's one thing I don't do in this relationship right here, to this day. That's something that I learned that I wouldn't take going forward. I don't know if you're going to deem that as disrespectful or do you not care, but that just comes with growing and learning your partner and being willing to take whatever they tell you into consideration and not immediately get super duper defensive. And one thing I did have to learn as well is like I said, I mean, it goes both ways when it comes to putting up that guard and being defensive, because my first wife at the same token, and even my wife now, they and I don't know if it's just something with Memphis women or what, but like it's like they were just raised on survival. You know what I mean? So they quick to get defensive and rowdy with you and ready to throw hands if
New Orleans women.
They just be women in general, but like they be willing to like get real upset. And that's one thing that I had to learn to know when to turn it on and turn it off. You can put your guard up and be defensive from time to time, but there's a time to turn it off, and you'll know that time when that time comes if you're willing to learn that person. So
yeah. I'm gonna say something that's really kind of, you would think is kind of counterintuitive to what something that Reezy said, but actually when you think about it, it makes all the sense in the world. When you're talking about being empathetic and being compassionate, it actually works the opposite, the opposite way, because really women really need to be empathetic and compassionate to men because of what you just said. Because many times in our society, men are raised to suck it up, or you don't do this, man up. That's a saying all the time, man up. And what does that do? Guess what? It stifles your emotional growth. So then, hey, you only know the basic primitive emotions: mad, sad, upset.
Yep.
I mean, there's no growth in there. You don't understand, and for a lot of people to get, that emotional intelligence that you understand, you have to come to the realization like, hey, I'm not really mad. What I am is I'm embarrassed. You have to start naming those emotions, because a lot of times it's not mad what people are. It's not sad what they are. They just don't know what that emotion is, because for so long people have told them, man up. No, don't cry. Man, stop being a punk. So it goes like I say, it's a two-way street. Women need to be empathetic to men too. Let him feel safe to open up and let down those guards. Let somebody into their shell. Like, hey, it's okay to be sensitive around me. I'm not going to laugh at you. I'm not going to shame you for telling me how you really feel. And once you create that safe space, that takes your relationship to the next level, because he feels like, hey, I don't have to be this tough guy all around, because men have feelings too. The same upset, the same sad, the same embarrassed, the same anxiety, the same depression, the same disappointment that women feel. Men have those same emotions. But at the end of the day, compassion and empathy, we all need compassion and empathy, because we're all human and nobody's perfect. So that means we're all going to make mistakes. And you don't want somebody to jump down your throat when you make a mistake. So guess what? It goes to the golden rule: treat people like you want to be treated. So if you don't want people biting your head off, when you make a mistake, allow some empathy and compassion and some grace for other people when they make mistakes, instead of always, biting their head off. So I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, that was a good point. And it kind of leads into our next topic, talking about communication in a relationship, which is probably one of the biggest things, when it comes to relationship. And we kind of covered in some of these other topics, but how do you guys feel communication plays, in relationships, and how does it make your relationship better?
So, I'll tell you like this. One of the worst examples, which is actually a great example that I've seen in recent of how not to communicate with somebody. Like Kendrick Lamar, he got like his newest album out right now, and there's a song in there, "We Cry Together."
Ah, yeah.
That song is so great. It is so great. And like it's like the perfect example of what a toxic relationship looks like, what to say in a relationship and what not to say. Like because it actually makes some really great points, on both sides, while at the same time like just being like a master course in how not to have a conversation no matter how angry you are with someone, or just maybe even being the signal that you need to get out. I don't know, but like I would say like obviously it's kind of like, I guess like the end goal of all this is to hear all of the things that you have come across, said, thought about, uncovered, discovered, empathized, and felt with a person, and then communicate in a healthy, safe space those things that you want out of someone. Ask them the things that they need. Take the information that you listen to and apply it. Like, I mean, if you just sitting there and you hearing everything they say, and it's just going out one ear and going out the, and going in one ear, going out the other, and then you doing whatever the hell you want. Like, how are you servicing your relationship properly? I can tell you after tonight, I'm gonna take a strong look at myself and be like, "Well, damn, like, am I a hypocrite right now?" Because like, there's just so many things that you really recognize that like you aren't being the best person you possibly can yourself. You can't be for someone. You're not being the best representation of your relationship with someone, and like you can't be surprised when that failed. That when those failed communications fall through and things aren't actionable and it turns ugly.
Of course, communication is key, man. And there's all sorts of different forms of communication. It isn't just talking. It's like, how you interact with somebody on a physical level. You know what I'm saying? Like touching one another, is a form of communication, in my opinion. Letting your significant other know that you care for them in that manner, like that physical intimacy is communication, in my opinion. But yeah, and you know what I'm saying? So, but talking definitely is big. Communicating on all aspects, when you're in a relationship, like, hey, how's your life? How's everything going at work? How are you feeling? How do you feel that we can improve our relationship? And even more things that you can discuss, It doesn't always have to be super serious, but you want to have established a relationship where you can go to your partner and talk to them about anything. You don't want to feel like, you can't say something to your partner that's on your mind, again, without them biting your head off, or without them shutting down and not wanting to communicate with you, because that's not a healthy relationship if they're not willing to talk to you about the hard things in your relationship. That's what relationships are about. It's about communicating and discussing, anything and everything, but most importantly, the hard things, because that's how you both are gonna grow and be better for one another.
I held up that one because for me, this is the top one over everything. It's communication. Because if you don't have communication, you don't have anything. Because if you look at all of these topics, they're really intertwined. They're really intertwined with communication. You know, so if there's a breakdown in communication, how are you going to get to know your partner better? If you don't express your likes, your dislikes, what you expect out of a relationship,
Mhm.
what they expect out of a relationship, their non-negotiables, the things, their love languages, or anything. How are you gonna, how are you gonna know that stuff? So communication is the foundation. Like if we build in a house of love, that foundation gotta be communication. So if you're trying to build a house and your foundation is off, or your foundation, you trying to build with a foundation that's on sand, your house gonna sink. I mean, that's as plain as I can. That's plain as I can put it. So, my advice to anybody would be work on your communication first. That should be the first thing that you work on, being able to communicate. And yelling ain't communication. It ain't.
Oh.
So calm your ass down, motherfucker. What's wrong with you? Don't make me turn the Ike in here, because I can quickly make your ass eat the cake. We can communicate that way, motherfucker. I'm just playing. These is jokes. Don't cancel us. Yeah.
So you got anything on the topic, big dog?
Man, you know with communication. I've been talking about communication all show. I feel like. I mean, like Rob said, I definitely feel like this is number one. I feel like we can interchange number one with interchange listen now with almost any topic, but definitely communication. And I will always, bring up just how I've grown, and just grown as myself as a man and being more comfortable with myself as a man. A lot of things I didn't want to talk about before. A lot of the times when, you always, the dreaded meme, we need to talk. You hear that? Motherfucker just automatically like, oh, here we go. You know what I mean? And I mean, now, I actually, as much as she may say that it may not seem like that, I do value the talks that me and my wife have whenever she just rambles on sometimes, and I listen, and I may butt in here or there, say something, but I just let her talk because I know she's not outspoken anywhere else. She's more outspoken with me, so I'll just let her talk, and I won't say anything a lot of the times. I'll just sit back and listen. She may think I'm not, but and then I'll butt in and I'll say something, and we'll just talk about future plans and stuff like that. Or we'll talk about things that we want to do in our relationship. Hey, we want to do trips. We want to do this next weekend. We'll plan out our next weekend that we're off together or something like that. I mean, I think things like that are key. If I make her upset or she makes me upset, we communicate. It may not be that exact same day, but we bring it up and we talk about what made us mad. We hash it out. We lay it on the table, and then we go on about our day. Like we don't delve into it and just spend time upset like, oh, I can't believe you said that. Like we hash everything out. She understands where I'm coming from. I understand where she's coming from, and we keep it pushing. We don't let that marinate in our minds and bring it up 3 days later like, oh, you said this or you did that. I feel like, like I said, I feel like communication is key, man. You got to be able to, if you can't talk to the person you're sleeping next to, then I don't know who else you're gonna talk to. I really don't.
Yeah. How often do y'all I've always heard this, and I don't know if y'all practice it. Don't go to sleep angry at each other. How often do y'all do that?
I'll be honest with you, Brian. Hey, look, I said I'm a work in progress. There are days we don't, but there are days that it's like, man, you brother, just look, let's just disagree.
You really got to sleep it off. You got to sleep it off so you can have a healthy conversation.
It really depends on the topic. It really depends on the topic for me. Like it depends on the argument, like what the severity of the argument is for me. Most of the time we don't. Like most of the time we'll make up. Like I'll go, I'll be like, fuck it. Even if I felt like I was right, I'm gonna go in there and just be like nudge on, love on her a little bit, and just be. It's it's cool. Like. But sometimes, I'll just be like, forget it. I'm gonna lay on my couch until tomorrow morning. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm gonna beat my meat, go to sleep. I ain't talking to her ass till tomorrow.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. I haven't like this. Like that used to happen all the time in my past marriage. I just be like, bro, fuck it, whatever. I'm gonna go in my other room, go to sleep. I ain't got to deal with you. But like in my relationship now, we still we'll sleep in the same bed. But I give one topic that we had that it was a struggle bus when we first started, and that was how to discipline EJ, how to discipline our son, but technically her son in the beginning, because I wasn't the father, and she always felt like I was being too rough. And I'm like, well, he doesn't have a male figure in his life, so I'm not trying to be rough, but I'm just trying to teach him like you're not gonna get your way in life. Like everything isn't gonna go your way, so I'm gonna discipline him. I'm gonna tell him no. I'm gonna deny him access to certain things that he wants when I don't feel like he needs it. I'm gonna take things away from him that I don't feel like he needs. If he does right, like for the longest, I wouldn't even I think I gave him one whooping, and I felt so bad from the way that she looked at me. She didn't have to say nothing. It was just the look. I was like, oh shit, I fucked up. Hey, you know what? I ain't gonna do it. And I was afraid. And it took like her to listen to her parents and everybody, and then for her to come to me and talk to me about it, listen to her parents, to her friends and stuff like that. Then she came and she talked to me about it, and we hashed out and we came to an agreement on how we would parent until we got more comfortable. And then she was like, okay, listen, I want him to have you as a male figure in his life. I'm trusting you to be that parent for him. Of course, I ain't just out here just beating the boy to sleep, but, you know, discipline him when he needs discipline. And, you know, once we came to that agreement, we were good to go. But that was one topic, man. We went to bed mad a few times. I'll never forget, like, one day I was trying to like implement what me and Reezy parents did to us. So I took his TV out of his room. He had to go to school. I took his TV, and boy, that boy stayed up till damn near 11 o'clock hollering, and I would not give him the TV. He stayed up. And he finally went to sleep. I think she had to go in there late with him. He finally went to sleep. Well, she woke up the next morning. They say a word. They say good morning. Ain't fix me no coffee. Ain't nothing. She just hopped in her car and dipped. I said, damn, it's like that, cuz. And then, you know, and then she talked to her friends and everything about it. And then she came and she talked to me and she was like, you know, I felt like you was wrong for it. And immediately I wanted to get defensive, but I breathed, took a couple deep breaths. I woosawed, word to Mike Lowry, and you know, we talked about it, and we came to an agreement. Okay, he's not at that age yet. I won't take it. We'll do something else. You know what I mean? We'll come to a compromise or something else. But I mean, again, that falls in line with everything that we just talked about: listening, communicating, knowing your partner, being comfortable with myself. Because if I wasn't comfortable with myself, then I wouldn't have been willing to be like, no, it's my way or the highway. You either gonna listen to me or it's not gonna happen. But I was willing to compromise and we come together because we want this thing to work. So,
and you brought up a good thing about, you know, being open for growth, which is our next topic. You know what I'm saying? So being willing to grow in your relationship is definitely a big thing, and you're gonna grow no matter what, no matter if you want to or not. You're gonna change over time, you know, both of you. So how do you feel about growth in a relationship and how important it is in your relationship?
I think it's the natural path, the natural evolution of us in general. I mean, either you're gonna evolve or you're gonna go the way of the dinosaur. You know, simple as that, because the way you think as an 18-year-old should not be the same way that you think as a 40-year-old, because hopefully you've had different life experiences. And if we go back in time and look at the things that our priorities when we were 18, you know, as opposed to now, you know, I'll go out on a ledge and say there's definitely a shift in everybody's priorities from where they were when they were 18. So that's growth, you know. And as in a relationship, it's gonna be growth, because y'all gonna evolve. Y'all gonna have different likes. Y'all gonna have different dislikes. There are gonna be certain ways your relationship changes, and it's up to you to do the work. You know, to do the work. Say, hey, this is something worth fighting. This is something worth fighting for, and we want to keep this strong. And so I'm open-minded. I'm going into it, you know, being open to new experiences, because that's the only way you're going to grow. You know, being exposed. You know, Fred Taylor on the Pivot has a saying, you know, exposure leads to expansion. Exposure leads to expansion. So basically what he's saying is, the more things you're exposed to, the more you can expand, and different experiences that you can have. So, you know, we gotta be open for growth.
You know, I'm a counter respond to what Rob just said, in that, you know, actually I disagree with the kind of jobs that I've had in my life. One thing that I've come to kind of notice, sometimes it feels as if people actually are grown children. A matter of fact, I always kind of just speculated that, like, some people, once they hit the age of like 14, 15, 16, they're low-key becoming the person they're going to be for the rest of their lives. I mean, true enough, responsibilities and other life, you know, struggles like that, they change things, but like, you kind of become that person really early on, whether you recognize it or not. And honestly, when you look at how some adults move, they act like big ass children, you know, like, I mean, and it's really kind of simple in nature. You know, they don't necessarily always have the texture and you know, you know, like just the texture that you think that their mental faculties you expect them to have. And you know, when you get into a relationship and you bring that big baby to like this other adult who also is a big baby, and you two people will try to like basically, you know, make sense of things and deal with whoever you are as a person, you know, you can communicate all day, you can listen to somebody all day, and you can grow or attempt to like, you know, mature with time. But the reality is that there's some aspects of your personality that is never going to change. Some things you're never going to be good at. Some things you're never going to grow out of. Just straight like that, you know. Like, I mean, if you, and that's part of knowing yourself. It's like, hey, I know that the only way I'm gonna go to sleep at night is if like my significant other pats me on my ass or something. As ridiculous as that may sound, that might be that one thing that's just never going nowhere, you know, or anywhere. Or and maybe if it's something small like that, maybe there's something that a person can work with. But if it's something like, nah, I gotta always have like 3 girlfriends, or you know, I gotta always have a man like flying me out, like those things might be those non-negotiables that basically will keep you from being in a healthy continued relationship. But you know, even though there's a person that you become and there's a breaking point that just never changes, I think that having that openness, you know, to at the very least try to deal, you know, or work around your flaws and your shortcomings to make a comfortable environment for your significant other is the key. You know, I mean, I know I'm an asshole. You know, I don't say things right, and I always end up putting my foot in my mouth, and I hate myself for that. And I can't walk into a relationship with somebody knowing that flaw that I have that has been there since I was a child, and then expect them to like just put up with that shit and be like, well, you know, you need to just love me for me. It's like it don't work like that. If anything, like I try my best to just have, you know, things in place to basically kind of correct or account for just my shortcomings. And it all comes with communication, people knowing who you are, you knowing who you are, and you know, acceptance. You know, along with the empathy and the compassion and blah, and not blah, say blah, but like the things that come along with a relationship. You know, I think that's just as important as anything else. So some things are changeable, some things aren't. But in all things, just be ready to deal with that back and forth that comes with just trying to be two adults working things out with one another. That's how I look at it.
I mean, I feel like growth comes, you know, from you growing within your own self and being more mature, gaining more maturity as you grow, as you get older and things like that. And then of course growing in your relationship, compromising. I mean, like it's like we've been saying, I mean, everything goes hand in hand. You know, you learn, and how do you grow? You grow from learning. You know, you grow wiser from learning things, from making mistakes. Nothing is going to be perfect in your relationship. You're going to make mistakes, but you know what not to do the next time. If you make a mistake, you know not to make that same mistake going forward. That's growth. If you say something that's offensive, you know not to say that again. That's growth. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it just comes with the territory, man. If you're going to be in a committed relationship, just be willing to make changes. You know, we always hear this one thing, oh, you ain't gonna change me, you're gonna accept me for me. Well, if you want a committed relationship, it's not gonna be one of those where you're gonna accept me for me. You can accept me for me to a certain extent, but if I want you to accept me for me, I have to be willing to change for you if I want to be with you for the rest of my life. If I want to be with you for the rest of my life, I want to be self-centered. Then if you can't accept me for me, I guess then that's it. So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, growth plays a big part, just like the rest of the topics.
Yeah, I mean, and to add to that, I definitely agree with what Chris was saying about, you know, you're gonna have to grow in a relationship. Again, this goes with compromising, you know, and like I said before, getting out of your comfort zone. You know, there may be some things that you don't like, but if you experience them, you may find out that you do like those things, and that in turn is growth. and that's you changing. And you know, a lot of people say, I'm not changing, I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be. You either gonna accept me for me, like Chris was saying, or you can hit the road. But you know, that's ultimately not a relationship. Yes, you can, you don't have to change to a certain extent. You have to give up some of the things that you love, you know, that are your personality and who you are, but you have to be willing to grow and adapt to your partner and work with them in a way that's going to better your relationship. You know what I'm saying? So but at the end of the day, man, you know, we reached the end of the show. We thank y'all, you know, for tuning in to episode 42. And like we always say, man, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, click the bell for notifications, and tell a friend, man, because we trying to get on. And you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna swing it to my boy Pap Daddy to close out the show, and we're gonna holler at y'all.
I'm gonna be nicer this time. I'm gonna give y'all some love making music. So get the fuck off my screen. Get the fuck off my screen and go and get in her jeans. In between them sheets.
Hey, it's your boy Rob from the They Gon' Feel Me podcast. And if you want more authentic conversation from authentic men, check out this video.